Now that we've completed Lesson 2, does anyone have any questions? Yes, CJ.
Why did Western Europeans pursue exploration and expansion in the late 15th and early 16th centuries and not before?
The onset of dramatic social and economic change stimulated many English folk to move to North America. As a result of the introduction of nutritious American crops, England's population doubled. All those additional people needed food, clothing, and other goods. The competition for goods led to high inflation, coupled with a fall in real wages as the number of workers increased. In these new economic and demographic circumstances, some English people, especially those with sizable land holdings that could produce food and clothing for the growing population, improved a lot. Others, mainly those with very small amounts of land, fell into poverty.
What factors explain the speed with which Spain acquired its vast empire in the Western Hemisphere?
Spain established the model of colonization that other countries later attempted to imitate. A model with three major elements. First, the Crown maintained tight control over the colonies, imposing a hierarchical government that allowed little autonomy to New World jurisdictions. Most of the colonists sent from Spain were males. That meant that they took Indian and later African women as their sexual partners, thereby creating the racially mixed population that characterizes much of Latin America to the present day. The colony's wealth was based on the exploitation of both the native population and slaves imported from Africa.
Can you explain the Columbian Exchange and what its impact was on the Atlantic world?
A broad mutual transfer of diseases, plants, and animals resulted directly from the European voyages of the 15th and 16th centuries and from Spanish colonization. The exchange of three commodities had significant impacts on Europe and the Americas. Sugar, which was first domesticated in the East Indies, was being grown on the islands of the Mediterranean Atlantic by 1450. Horses were brought to America in 1493 and fell into the hands of the American Indians during the 17th century.
England initially attempted to follow the Spanish model of colonization without much luck, but what factors account for England's success in a colonial power in North America?
The greater success came when they abandoned the Spanish model and founded settlements very different from other European powers. Unlike Spain, France, or the Netherlands, England eventually sent large numbers of men and women to set up agriculturally based colonies on the mainland. Two major developments prompted approximately 200,000 ordinary English men and women to move to North America in the 17th century and led their government to encourage their immigration. The onset of dramatic social and economic change stimulated many English folk to move to North America.
So, what was indentured servitude and why was it an integral element of the labor systems in the Chesapeake colonies again?
Indentured servants were those who fulfilled their terms of the indenture and earned freedom dues consisting of clothes, tools, livestock, tobacco, and sometimes even land. They also had to work an agreed amount of time to gain their freedom. The planting, cultivation, and harvesting of tobacco were repetitious, time-consuming, and labor-intensive tasks. Clearing land for new fields demanded heavy labor, and undesirable shoots had to be regularly removed by hand from tobacco stalks. Chesapeake tobacco farmers looked primarily to England to supply their labor needs. Because of the system, tobacco farmers anywhere in the Chesapeake simultaneously obtained both land and labor by importing workers from England. Well, that will wrap up our lesson review. You should all now be in good shape for completing your assignment. Be sure to ask me if you have any questions.